welcome everybody, and thanks for signing up for the session, which is on very much around strategies and resources for searching literature for your topics, your research topics, and we'll be covering a lot in there. I'd just like to introduce everybody. So my name's Jo Gillespie, and I'm presenting the session with Irene Caleb, and on chat is Jenny Hurley.
Hi everyone.
Yep. So
Hello.
we're all teaching and research librarians. So do a lot of work in assisting people with finding information on their topics, research topics, and all the different things that we're going to cover today. So just as I'm starting, just to start off, I'd like to do an acknowledgement of country. So RMIT University acknowledges the people of the Woiwurrung and Boonwurrung language groups of the East Kulin Nations, on whose unceded lands we conduct the business of the university. RMIT respectfully acknowledges their ancestors and elders past and present. And RMIT also acknowledges the traditional custodians and their ancestors of the lands and waters across Australia where we conduct our business. Thanks for that. And welcome to those who are coming in right as we speak. So just a little bit of housekeeping as well before we get going. Just for the session, just make sure you, microphones are on mute. And we've got our cameras off as well, just to kind of help with the bandwidth and keep things moving smoothly. Please use the chat box to ask questions in participating activities. We'll be welcome to ask questions during the session, and Jen will be we'll try to answer them during the session, and we'll allow some time at the end for questions as well. So just to, and the chat button in the bottom left, bottom right corner and panel. So just to sort of start off with that, if everybody can just let us know what school or what area you're from in the session for today. What whereabouts, what school or area you're from. Yep, MediaCom. Engineering, biomed. Yep, a couple more engineering. Yep, Gus. Great. It's sort of, so it's quite a broad range, design and social context. Yep. So there's quite a range of you there. Yeah. Yep. Great. Thank you. Yep. So it's great to hear. And I see a little bit of, quite a variety of you. So everything that we're talking about can apply across a broad range of topics. So we'll be covering some things around search strategies, where you might start searching for information, how to refine your search, how to stay current in your topic. So how to stay current in your topic, so that you're not missing out on papers that you might be happening as you're doing your PhD. Identifying some highly cited papers and a bit more about getting assistance. So, and this link will be one of the things that's provided for you, but we'll be using a fair bit of things from the, before we look at search strategies. I'll just point out a guide for starting your literature review, which is this guide here, and it will cover, we'll be coming back to this page as well, and it covers a lot of what we're doing today as well, so things around where to search. I'll just also mention that it covers some things on research methodologies and finding information on research methodologies too. So if you're needing some of that info, yeah, have a look there too for that. And it also includes some things around the writing process as well. So if you're needing assistance with that too. So before starting searching, one of the things that really recommend is that you prepare your search strategy. So this means brainstorming some keywords and synonyms or word on your topic, writing them down, and also keeping a record of them somewhere. So synonyms are, or alternate words, are basically words that mean the same thing. So for example, impartial and unbiased, you can perhaps choose to use one of those words at the time. So, and also just note, it's actually really good, useful to use alternate words because different databases might require different combinations of keywords and synonyms. So just think about keeping track. We'll be looking at, in each database or each search way, we'll be looking at setting up search alerts. And here's a few tips of keeping track of some things. Use advanced search screens, be methodical, and follow article citations. So you can follow a paper through with things. So just to start off, just in the search, in the chat box, just give a little bit of information on what your research topics are. Just anything, just a short thing about it. That. Yep. Great, seeing a few things come in. Yep, cyber attack on aviation, true crime literature, hydrogen storage and carbon, artificial intelligence for project management, yep, machine learning for food identification. There's quite a few different topics in there. What influences prescribing practice? Great, thank you. So just think of all of these topics as you're doing your own searches with that. So next type thing would be, this would be something to work through with your own topic, but for the moment we'll do this one. So if I had investigated major issues associated with women in leadership roles in the Australian banking industry. So if we just spend a couple of minutes thinking about, first of all, what the keywords out of this topic are, and then what the alternate words might be for this. So if you just put some of those words into the chat, first of all, starting with the keywords and what some of the alternate words for some of these keywords might be. Yep. Okay, women, leadership and banking. Yep. Gender, working women, finance. So I'm just opening up a different screen as well. So I've got a little bit of a cheat sheet here for thinking about the terminology. Banking. Jen, if you could read out some of those alternate words.
Yep. So gender, women, working women.
Yeah.
And then finance or banking.
Yeah.
Or banking industry.
Yeah.
Finance, banking industry.
Industry. Yeah. Yep.
Women in leadership.
Leadership. Yep. So we've got leadership. Yep.
Women's rights.
Management. Yep.
Oh, sorry, you're looking at term 3.
Yep.
Okay.
Management. Yep.
Hierarchy.
Yep.
And
Key.
so for women, there's also an interesting one, women's rights.
Yep.
For term 1.
Yep. Yep. How about, yep, we've got management. How about executives? Yep. Entrepreneurship. Okay, great. Thank you.
There are some other good ones as well, but
yep.
That'll.
We might just take that.
That'll do you?
Yep, I think that'll do. Yep, great. So you can see with that, we've got a few different terms and words there. You could start off just searching broadly with these ones, but you can then combine all of your search terms into, and I'll just increase the size of the screen now for that, into making a bit of a search statement. So there's a few different tips and tricks around some of these. I'll just quickly flick to the screen here as well. So it's always a good idea to spell out any acronyms. So if you have the CEO, probably would need to put in Chief Executive Officer as well. Databases, things will search for both terms, but it can be useful spelling them out, particularly if something's got more than one usage as the acronym. Phrase searches, if you've got two words that sit next to each other, like design thinking, now I've gone forward, putting those two terms next to each other in a using the quotation marks forces those words to be looked next to each other. Truncation, or wildcards. So often a question mark is used in the middle of a word and it will look for all the letters in the alphabet. So you get the variation in the sort of Australian English and American English spelling with the S and the Z for a word like organisation. And then also think about, are there other terms? So in Australian context, we use mobile phone. Other countries use cell phone or cellular phone, and there might be some other terms as well. So think about some of those variations when you're putting your search together. And I'll just think there's a couple of ways that we can think about that. So if we go to our search strategy, if I'm just taking the words here, the first women, banking and leadership, I might build a search that looks like this. So leadership and women and banking industry. Sometimes you might find that the asterisk is also used with that. And then I might take another search, and this is, I'm just copying this across from another one, and paste that in. So a couple of things with this. What I've done is you can see I've put different terms. We've joined things together with the and, or, and not. So if you were looking for jaguar as an animal, you might say jaguar, not car. But you'll probably put and animal as a search. But what I'm also doing with this is I want to get putting things in brackets or parentheses here so that the search will work properly. And it means that I want any one of these terms, woman or gender or female, and any one of these terms, and any one or all of these terms. So it will look for these, but it has to have at least one word out of those three groups. And different databases will help you join those things together. Putting an asterisk at the end here just as well for leader means it'll find leader, leadership, I could take it back to lead and it'd find leading as well. And it'll look for the plural. Any things times after that? So it's yeah. And you will definitely get documents of the slides and things as well from this as well. Now, sorry, I just got just started ringing. Sorry about that. So we've developed a search strategy. So now we'll just take a bit of time to take that strategy and start searching for some information. So again, we can either go from that the starting your literature review guide. You can also use some of the library subject guides. They'll point out the databases that are most useful for your subject area. So some things you'll find come across and cover a lot of different disciplines as well. So again, you could take it from here, which has got the where to search, and you'll see that there are a few different starting points with that. I'm just going to quickly either start from the library with something in library search, which is just go to the library homepage, and there's a window there for that. So you can just Google RMIT Library. And I'll take that first search that we had. and banking industry. So leadership and women and banking industry. And you can see one thing that it suggests that we do is actually log in, and that helps particularly, Irene will talk about this a little bit later, if you're wanting to request something from document delivery. So I'm just going to log in with an RMIT account. It also allows me to help save my searches as well, so you can see my name's coming up in the top right corner here too. I'll just enlarge the screen there a tiny bit. You can limit things by the side. I find that you can search most of what's in the library databases from here, but it's very useful, particularly when thinking about things like ebook chapters or ebooks. At the moment, the physical collection isn't available, but you can see when I click on something like under resource type, if I just click on book chapter, there's quite a lot of results with that. I can actually get it to remember this filter for the session, so I can alter my search, because if I think that 390 results is too much, I can then change the date to say 2016 and refine, and I can let it remember this information for the session. For access, I can either start from looking at the overall the book, the heading here, or I can click on online access down here. If I want to save this to favorites, to my list of favorites, I can just click the pin, and this is highlighting that it's putting some things in there. To access the actual chapter, just click on online access, and it opens. I'll find where the full text is available from. What I can also do is I've got a link up here for save query. So I can save that search just by clicking save query, and it will remember some of the filters as well for that search too. So once I've done that, I can go and click on the paperclip, and it remembers the records that I've saved, but also the saved searches. So I can then set an alert for that search if I want to do that too, so that I'll get a little message when something new comes up for that search and it's added to the collection. So another popular place to start searching is, I'm sure a number of you do search through here, is so I'll just Jen, just check a couple of questions around library search as well. So yep. So yep.
Just,
okay, so library.
Yeah, document delivery later on. Thanks, Joe.
Yep. Okay, yep. And also the quotas, the importance of air quotes. Yep. So like banking industry. Yep. That just mentions that the words will be looked together as a phrase. So and there's a couple of, if you've got a couple of questions around yeah, where to search and things as well. So sometimes you might search. You can use, first I think library search is really useful, particularly if you're looking for, it will search for articles, but it's particularly useful for books and for ebooks. So another way, just quickly also is, I'm sure some of you have been using Google Scholar. This perhaps, Google Scholar will automatically look for, and I've got that longer search string that we worked on here. I've just copied that. And if you start from the library homepage for your search, it might prompt you at a certain point to sign in, but you can see here I've got a little in the web address bar, it's showing a little link for the library, a little extension from the library. Again, you can see I've got about 25, quite a few results there. So I can limit it by date on the side, if that's important. And you can see it's also showing a link here saying find it at RMIT. So it's going to look for, if I click on that link, it will go and back into library search to find a link for it being available in full text. And you can see it's available in a database here called ProQuest. I'll just go back to that search too. Also, if you sign in, it also enables you to create an alert for that search too, just by clicking on Create Alert, and you can show up to a certain number of results, put your email address in and click Create Alert, and it'll alert you to anything new coming up in that area. It also lists some things around cited by information, so that can be a useful way of seeing who else has quoted from that, and Irene will be talking a little bit more around the importance of something being cited by. And you around the importance of that too. So you can also click to make something, to favourite something. You do need to sign into Google for that. It also enables you to take a citation from it and export it into something like a bibliographic software. And also the sort of related articles too. Just check for questions.
So there's one from Natalie around why would you go through the Google search link through RMIT Library rather than without that link? And so does that give you more articles, or is there another reason for doing it?
Yeah, in a way it gives you more articles because it probably gives you greater access to the full text of articles. So the library subscribes to a large number of different databases, and I think Irene will talk about this in a minute and why you choose to use the databases. So it does, going through the library to get to Google Scholar can mean that if you see it, find it at RMIT, that often will link to something which is there in full text. So it can mean being more able to find the actual a PDF copy of the article. So that kind of covers something that Irene was going to talk about a little bit, at which point it's actually a really good time to switch across to Irene. So I'm just going to stop sharing the screen here and allow Irene to start sharing her screen. Thank you.
Can everybody see that?
Yeah, I've got that, Irene.
Oh, thank you. Okay, hello everyone, and thank you, Joe, for presenting the first half of this session. So Joe has covered how you set up your search and then also how you might go about searching in RMIT's library search and also in Google Scholar. In this second half of the session, I'm going to be looking at the databases. So with university libraries, they actually pay for access to what we call journal article databases. And these databases will either be multidisciplinary or they'll take a particular discipline and they'll index and abstract all the papers, well, a lot of the papers in that area. So when you're doing your research, you probably wouldn't want to just limit yourself to Google Scholar and library search. You would want to see what databases we have available at RMIT. And so actually I should probably do the full screen. So Joe has already said a bit about starting your literature review, having some useful information for you to get started. But then we've also got the library subject guides. So these are guides that the various librarians put together where you can, for example, go to the engineering guide, the specific type of engineering, or go to the art guide, and you'll find a range of information, including which are the key databases. So now I'll just show you where you find those guides. Actually, no. First of all, I'll discuss why. No, first of all, I'll discuss. I knew I shouldn't have got out of that. I'll discuss what databases are you familiar with. So if you're already using a database, did you want to put an answer in chat? And I can't see chat, so maybe Jenny will read out the answers.
I'll do in one tick.
I can start reading a couple out. There's a few for ProQuest, Scopus, there's ResearchGate, Elsevier, Scopus PubMed.
So with Elsevier, I should mention that Elsevier is just the journals published by the Elsevier company. To get a more comprehensive index, you would use the Elsevier's database, which is called Scopus. And I heard that some people are already using that. Scopus is one of the databases I'll be demonstrating in a moment. So perhaps if we move on now. So the next slide is just a reiteration of why you would use databases. As I said, libraries actually pay for access to these. And the reason is, number one, they have advanced search functions. So if you've done searching on Google Scholar, you'd know that you get tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of results. And there are very limited options for refining and being more precise. Well, these databases include refining options, and we'll be looking at those in a moment. They also provide, as I said earlier, a subject focus. A while back, you used to actually, in Google Scholar, be able to select a general subject area once you had your results. But last time I checked, they've removed that, perhaps because they realised it wasn't very accurate, perhaps. The databases try to be comprehensive, particularly if it's something like PubMed. You can be fairly confident that they're trying to catch everything in medicine. They also allow you to create alerts. So you can create alerts in Google Scholar, but the databases have some additional features. And Google Scholar is a bit hit and miss. It will say things like you want, the five results per email. So it's not actually being very comprehensive. The other thing databases do, and you can actually do this in Google Scholar, but some of the databases we subscribe to, like Scopus and Web of Science, they let you have a key paper and then follow forwards in time to see if anyone else refers to that paper in their reference list. And they also allow analysis of research impact, like which are the top papers, which are the top authors, and which are the top journals. Does anyone have any questions around that? Okay, so moving on to the next one. So these are the databases I'll be looking at. EBSCOhost, Business Source Premier, so it's primarily a business database. But with all these databases, I mean, we've just picked out 2, but the same sort of principles apply in all of them. So just keep that in mind. And the other one we'll be looking at is Scopus, which is a major multidisciplinary database. So now I'll show you where to find Scopus by showing you, excuse me, those subject guides I mentioned. So I'm on the library homepage and I go to scroll down a bit and it's got all subject guides, but I want logistics, which is under business and law. So I actually wanted to keep some tabs open, so I might go back. Is it going to let me do? So I'm in a long list of business and law subject guides, and I'm going to go to, where is it? Logistics and supply chain management. So they all tend to follow the same basic structure where you can look for books, journal articles with particular disciplines. There might be things that are specific to that discipline. So the engineering one will have standards. You can see that this one has got statistics, case studies, data sets. So they've all got the same basic structure, but they will vary in terms of what information has been selected as being important to that discipline. So here I am under key resources, and a recommended database is Business Source Complete. So this is actually just in alphabetical order. This top one is Australian, so that's just journals published in Australia, so that'll be quite small. So just keep in mind this isn't by ranking, it's just alphabetical. So this is the one I wanted to have a look at. I wonder if I might close that one. So when I click on that link, it can be a bit confusing. It used to go straight to the database, but recently it's been changed because we're using library search to basically list all our databases. And when I say it's confusing, it's because I have seen people and they click on Scopus and they think I'm now in Scopus and they start typing up here. But when you type up there, you're still in library search. So what you have to do when it takes you here is click on the link down the bottom here. So now we're in the EBSCOhost database in Business Source Complete. It used to be called Business Source Premier. They keep changing the name. So with this database, I've just got a fairly basic search I wanted to demonstrate, so that because Joe has covered setting up your search in detail, so I just wanted to focus on other aspects of searching a database. And so having done a bit of preliminary searching, I've come up with these two terms for the logistics aspect of what I'm searching for. So my topic is automation in the logistics industry. So I've put in logistics or transport industry. I haven't put in logistics industry because in my preliminary searching, I saw that this database is just calling it logistics. And then on the second line, so you can see the database sets up the Boolean AND for you. On the second line, I put in automation or robot star, and that's to cover robots plural and also robotics, which was coming up. And then also this was coming up, so I've put it in, although I realize it might not be relevant to a general research on robotics, but I ended up including it. You'll see that down the bottom, it has all these options. You don't actually need to address those straight away. You'll get more options when you have your results list displaying. So I think I'm ready to just click on search. And I get about 6,000 results. Yeah, 6,334. So that's too many to try and have a look at. And as I said, these databases have options for getting it more precise and getting the results down to something that's a bit more manageable, which is maybe 200 results. So the first thing I'm going to show you is, if you're quite sure that logistics and transport industry are what we call classifying keywords, maybe I should go in here and show you what I mean. Actually, you can see them here in the preview. So see how it says subjects, robots, logistics, whatever. That is where the people who work on the database have classified the paper as being primarily about logistics. So we'll get our numbers down if we say we only want logistics or transport industry if it's what the article is primarily about. So where's that option gone? Oh, there it is. Now you could do it for the second one as well, but when you're using this, you want to be a bit careful because, you know, there might be things that are relevant where the article isn't primarily about that. It might be about logistics, but it covers a range of things. So this is an option to be aware of, but just sort of try it sort of incrementally. Make one section subject. If you're still getting too many, you could try making the second one subject. So when I do that, it brings it down quite a lot to 1,121. So we're getting there. The next thing I wanted to point out was that the papers are being sorted by relevance, and that's useful, but if you've got a full year range, I'll just scroll down a bit here, 1969, you don't want to have those coming up just because the database has noticed the keywords multiple times and it's treating it as a high relevance. So you have got the option to to display by date newest. But another thing, but then you'll lose the relevance ranking. So something else to be aware of is you can change this. So depending on your area of research, if you don't want old things, you can just say you only want this for 2015 to 2020. And I wonder if I can just press enter here. And so now it's down to 480. The next thing I'll point out is that not everything in these databases is in English. So you can open up language And you'll see that we'd probably get rid of about 30 if we limited it purely to English. So that's something to consider. The other thing that they do is you can look at logistics by country. So you might sometimes find that that's a useful option as well. It also classifies the type of information that you're getting. So it's got up here, this is a more broad section up here. You can say you only want the full text, because you can see that some of them will have the PDF already sitting there. Where they don't, be aware that you can use this Find It button to check if RMIT has it elsewhere. This PDF button isn't linking to everything that RMIT has access to. It's just the PDFs that EBSCO has access to. You can also limit it to scholarly peer-reviewed journals or open access. But there's a second section relating to the source material. So you can say that you want academic journals. You can say you want trade publications. I'll just open it up to show you the rest of them. And you can also, for your topic, you can look at newspapers. Cancel. All right, so now I was going to, does anybody have any questions about that? All right, so.
There are a few there, sorry, Irene. There are a couple of questions.
Okay.
There's one just to redefine what the subject headings are again, what the terms are.
Okay.
Just
So
to quickly redefine that.
okay.
And
So
also.
Yeah, right. Yeah. What's the second one?
Yep, there was I guess there was also a question of what a manageable number of sources might be as well.
Well, I think it's sort of up to you, but I would sort of say 200. If you've got 200 results, you can just quickly scroll through them and just using the title or the subject line, just decide which are the relevant ones. And actually, I'm not that familiar with EBSCO. Normally you can go tick, tick, tick. Do I have to be logged in to do that, Joe and Jenny? Do you know in Scopus you just go tick, I like that one, I like that one?
Yes, it's good.
You have to be logged in, probably. So, but that's something else that you do. Choose the ones you're interested in. Now, with the subject headings, I was actually going to open an example and talk a bit more about that. And we'll talk more about it in the Scopus demo as well. So what's it doing? So this is an example of a record, and you can see that the subject terms are more easily seen, and that you can also click on the link. When you do that, you're going to have results just for supply chain management. It's not going to be combining options. So you might bring that up and then refine it further. So just to explain again, with these subject terms, when you do a search, like on the default option, it's searching the title of the paper, the abstract of the paper, and it's also searching the subject terms. But if you're getting too many, when you select one of these, like I did when I went back and said I only want logistics if it's what the article is primarily about, that is because the people who work on the EBSCO database, they've looked at this article and they've said this article is primarily about logistics. So it's not just that the word logistics appears in the title. It's primarily about that. And also with something like EBSCO, when they have this little asterisk next to it, that means it's extra primarily about. So I think they call it a major subject term, as opposed to the Internet of Things one, which doesn't have the asterisks. So I guess if you have any more questions about that, we could discuss it further at the end. because I am conscious of the
Yeah.
time. So I mentioned earlier that some of the records will have a PDF, like just sitting there in the list. With this one, it doesn't. But what you do is you click on this Find It. I think it's a widget. Oh, does it let me? I want to open it in a new tab. You click on that and it lets you know, do we have access to industrial management and data systems? And this is one that we do have access to. So it takes me to library search and you can see it says full text available. When I click on that link, it takes me to the Emerald Management Publishers database. So the full text will be there. When you're looking at these, do keep an eye out for what years are covered. So you can see that with this example, it appears in several of our databases, but something like ProQuest, because it's a, I can't remember what the word is, it just sort of collates things. There's a word for it, but I'm having a blank. Anyway, ProQuest, Emerald is the publisher of the journal. ProQuest hosts the journal as well, but for embargo reasons, it doesn't have the most recent year. So always just check that when you click on a link, it's got the year that you're after. So that was that one. Now I also wanted to show you one that doesn't have the full text. And that was this one in French. So that's usually a clue. RMIT wouldn't be subscribing to journals that are primarily in a different language. So when I click on this one, maybe I'll just do that. It says no full text. When you get a message like that, what you do is you log in as yourself and then you have this document delivery option. So that document delivery option is where you request that we get it for you from another institution. Now at the moment, even during the stage 4 lockdown, document delivery are getting electronic articles from institutions that are operating. So we don't have access to our own print journals, but other libraries in Australia and around the world do have access to their print journals. So they might actually be able to scan the article for you. But if it's all electronic, that's not a problem at all. With document delivery, the only thing that's not currently working is they can't get books for you. Usually, particularly for the DSC people, you might be requesting physical books. That's not possible at the moment. But if you know which chapter in the book that you want, as I said, they might be able to get another library to scan it for you. If you have questions about that, we can talk about it at the end, just so that we try to finish around 12 o'clock. So the only other thing I was going to mention about EBSCO was when you're doing searches like this in databases, once you've decided this is a good search and I want to know any new results that match this search, you don't have to keep redoing the search once a month or whatever. And that's particularly an issue for postgraduate work, which will be going on for several years. So if I was happy with this search, the next thing I do is I click on search history. And then if I decide this is the one I want, then I select it and click on save search as alerts. And at the moment, well, nowadays, EBSCO doesn't ask you to have like a personal login the way some of the other databases do. it seems to just want me to log in as RMIT. And then I have the option to save the alert. And when I do that, I can say I want it daily. I want the emails or texts daily, weekly, or monthly. So I'll just show that.
Just a time thing, Irene. It's about 4 minutes too.
Yeah, I don't think I'll demonstrate Scopus. What if we just include some scope slides in the PowerPoint? I think that might be best, since 1 hour wasn't enough for everything we wanted to cover.
Or just so the cited by the sorting by citing, I think.
So this is where you save your alert. Once you've done that, if you want to go back later and delete it, it'll be under folder. So that's it for EBSCOhost. So just to briefly tell you a bit about Scopus, I was going to go into that by showing you databases, popular databases.
Can I just let you know we've got a question about looking for the number of citations? Thank you. Yeah. If we've got time. Otherwise, Tony, you can follow up with me as well.
When you're in EBSCOhost, it's not really one of the top databases for citations because I think it's fairly selective about the reference lists it includes. I don't think it automatically has reference lists in the record, but databases like Scopus, Web of Science, and also Google Scholar, because it's full text, they will actually have the reference list in the databases, Scopus and Web of Science. It'll have the reference list in the record, and so that means that you can look at how often things have been cited. And it's useful that it actually saved my search because it stops me from having to redo it. So the same search, and we were intending to demonstrate cited by. So within Scopus, you can see I've got too many results. It's got these options down the side, just like in EBSCOhost. But what I wanted to talk about was in EBSCO, you can sort by relevance or latest. In this one, you can sort by cited highest. It seems to have already done that. This one actually, maybe this one. I'll look at this one because the first one isn't on the topic. So this one has been cited 330 times. So as I said, Scopus and Web of Science are very much oriented around keeping track of this information. So this paper cited 330 times. And when you go into the record, as I said, these records keep track of the reference list. So you can actually follow these links, although I guess these are old. When the papers are newer, it'll look like a proper record. So you can look at the reference list of this paper and follow that. And when you do that, you're moving backwards in time. But when you look at the 330 that have cited this one, you're moving forwards in time. So this is a paper from 2017. So it's had a lot of citations just in a short time. And it's been cited 330 times. So you can bring that up as a new results list and have a look at all of those. And when you've got all of those, you can again sort them so that the most highly cited is at the top. With both Web of Science and Scopus, if this is like a key paper for you, this is probably more like a review, but say there's something that's like really important to you, or maybe even say it's your own paper, you can set a citation alert so that every time you get one of these, or your key paper gets one of these, you get sent an email. So that's just citation searching very quickly. I did also want to mention related documents. This is taking us to data. They keep sort of expanding their coverage. We won't talk about data today. So you've got the people who are directly citing here. If you scroll down a bit, these are the people who have bibliography or reference list similarities. So because these two databases, Web of Science, Scopus, they've got everybody's reference list, they also have the ability to compare all the reference lists. And so when you go to somewhere like this, the one at the top will be the paper that has the most similarity in their reference list to this 2017 paper, even though Duawe might not even be citing Hoffman. So the general idea is if they have some similarity in their reference list, it might be on a similar topic, so you might be interested in it. So that's probably it with a very rushed focus on citation searching in Scopus. I'll just quickly go back to the PowerPoint, and the final PowerPoints, it's like about, this one onwards, it's actually just reminding you of the things we've covered. There's about 9 of them. It's reminding you of the things we've covered, and it's also letting you know about other sources of information. So, for example, something like this, how you can find which are the top journals in your discipline. So the rest of these slides, I mean, they weren't really necessary to work through anyway. It's more just for your reference later on. But I will go to the last slide. Oh, sorry. How can I go back? And ORCID as well. Have a look at that later. So we've got this slide for further assistance. And the very last one is feedback. And I believe Jenny will be putting the feedback link in chat as well.
Yes,
So,
I will, Irene. Yep.
Yeah, so it's 3 minutes past 12. I realise some people might need to go, but if you have questions, feel free to stay a bit longer and we'll try and answer them. But for those who have to go, thanks for attending. Take care. And and to actually leave, it's this button up here. Leave session down the bottom.